Hey guys, welcome to the Swarm Report. My name's Hudah, bringing you around the crypto AI ecosystem in just 30 minutes a day. Hey, if you're watching on Abstract, if you're watching on X, well, welcome. I love you. Thanks for joining us. But did you know we're also streaming over on YouTube? Hey, if you do miss the live shows, and we do live shows every morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and also the new Swarm Report, this is at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. If you can't catch it live, you can watch the replay over on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe at SlamX Official. Of course, give us a follow at SlamAI_XYZ. And you're going to have to check out our flagship AI agent. That is the Swarm_AI. Big news dropping soon. Randy won't let me spill the beans quite yet, I don't think. I'm guessing that's right. Is that right, Randy? No beans spilling yet?
No, nothing to report today.
Okay, fine. Okay.
Sorry to be boring.
Dude, I get it.
There's more exciting things to do, like with Max here anyway. So we'll save that for another day.
Exactly that. So I kind of lied when I said just 30 minutes covering the market, covering the happenings. That's how we do it most times. But today is a different kind of day, actually a special day. We have our first guest on the Swarm Report here. We're joined by Max from Kindred AI, which I've fallen in love with here over the past few weeks after checking them out, seeing what they're building. It speaks to me in many ways. Max, welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, Hudah and Randy. I am calling in from San Francisco for the first time, moving here as of last week. I'm born and raised in Australia, but I used to live in Singapore, and I've been working on Kindred for about 3 years now.
Oh, so it's not new. Actually, I'll be excited to get into some of that and the amount of time people have already spent putting into AI. Like it's kind of this new meta, and it's not a meta anymore. I mean, everybody here realizes that it's much bigger than that. But I think a lot of people might be surprised to hear how long some people like you, Max, have been building in this space. So let me think of a good. Oh, by the way, Randy, you guys know, founder of Crypto Slam, joining me, my co-host. I'm lucky, get him now twice. Let's do much more. By the way, it's great having you here. But maybe a good starting point is let's get right into Kindred and what it is and what you're building, and we'll kind of go from there. Again, we're going to keep this casual, just have some fun chatting about stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I think maybe what I'll do is actually take a different approach here when it comes to how I describe Kindred. So Kindred, you might imagine, which is bringing iconic characters to life, like Hello Kitty and Pudgy Penguins, on your screen as essentially your AI assistant and companion. But the way that I really actually started Kindred was more from an angle in which I was researching AI through my master's and our current PhD research on how we form emotional connections with AI. And so the reason why I guess the reason we need emotional connection in the first place, and you'd probably be familiar here, every single day there are new AI agents coming out, right? Hundreds of new AI agents. All of them are competing against each other. And whilst there are many ones that are addressing very niche areas, right? So there are AI agents for specific websites or specific companies and very specific use cases. All of them face one kind of major problem, which is extremely low switching costs. And that's actually the same with major LLMs. So even the past month, I'm sure you guys as well have switched between something like OpenAI to DeepSeek. And then now apparently the best functional model is XAI, right? Elon Musk's XAI. So like we continue to switch very easily between AI models. And so to create a solution that one addresses that market where we can actually create loyal users to a particular AI. And then the other side is actually to create, from a consumer's perspective, something that actually sparks joy and delight into people's lives. And we want to keep with us throughout our entire day and throughout our entire life. So that's the kind of big picture, two areas that Kindred tries to address.
It's interesting because it sounds like it's collectibles in a way, but much more than that. It sounds like it's collectibles that are alive and like a partner or a companion. Is this kind of a companion AI agent?
To a degree, I think that I don't like to call them collectibles as much as you call your dog a collectible, right? Like so the relationship you have with your dog, that is how I ideally would have your relationship with something like a Kindred, right? And so first and foremost, you get a dog simply for companionship because you want to build a bond with that particular pet. And then it also potentially could provide some functional benefit, right? So your dog might get out and collect news for you, right? Or provide you with other benefits throughout your entire day. So with the companion, you go into it with the idea that you actually just simply want a companion by your side, right? A pudgy penguin or doodles, whatever it ends up being, on your screen. But then slowly by slowly, you realize, actually, I am starting to rely on more with more of our functional queries, from things like organizing my calendar to even just going to like Midjourney and generating images. It does it all through that singular interface, which is my pudgy penguin, let's say.
So I'm going to throw parts of your deck up on screen. I figure we're on video. It's great to be able to show things. But if you could describe the agents as far as their functionality, like people are very used to agents right now, at least their current form. People are used to maybe trading agents. That's kind of a new meta right now, or alpha agents. And then you've got the agents that are just pure personalities on X, maybe like a Cerebro or those kind of agents. What will these agents look like, feel like? And then I'd be curious to get into some of the IP branding stuff too, what that looks like with in agent form.
Probably the easiest way to describe it, if you can't show the video, is if you remember Microsoft Clippy, right? So if anyone here remembers Microsoft Clippy, it was just like essentially it was an early AI agent to a degree on your Windows computer to teach people how to actually use computers back in the early 90s and 2000s. And so it existed on top of your screen rather than within a particular website or application. So it was always persistent, like a floating window. That is how our agents work as well. So on top of your browser, but also on top of your mobile. So we're releasing with mobile toward the end of the year. It'll be on top of your apps as well. There's a key feature and benefit to that. But you can see how that translates into essentially having that sense of presence with your companion itself. Oh yeah, you have it on screen.
I forgot all about that guy actually. So good.
Well, it's because you didn't have it's because you didn't have an emotional connection with it.
Yes,
that's
correct.
fair.
And like on the screen previous to that, like when I was checking this out this morning, I saw Bugs Bunny, which I'm old enough to where that was a part of my Saturday morning routine. And so it immediately triggered something, that was positive. So I think, like, at first glance, like, this is what has me most excited about this. It's not. I get the companionship, which I think, that's a whole other discussion about how AI can fill that gap. But what I like is how it's bringing. It's bridging the outside world with what we're building here in Web3, which is something I've always been passionate about. So yeah, bring these characters. Hudah, I know like you're big with the Web3 native IP.
Right.
It took me a while to come around to that. I'm still going to, lean back to my roots and what brought me into Web3 in the first place. I love the idea of bringing, I think I even saw that in your deck, Max. Was there maybe some screen where it's just here's Web3. This is just a small piece of the puzzle, and then this is the rest of the world where the Warner Brothers characters and all kinds of other IP live. If we can make that connection, into Web3, that's how we grow this space. And yeah, I think it'd be even more powerful if these things are filling those emotional gaps you were talking about that AI can uniquely do.
Yeah, and even blur the lines between Web and Web2 IP, right? So like, why even have that distinction in the first place? Technically, all Web2 IP, if there's a benefit to being on Web3 and they can connect with their fan base, then why shouldn't they also become Web3? So to me, it's like there's no limitations to bring all of these Web2 IP, the ones you're so familiar with, Bugs Bunny, Hello Kitty, we have like things like Astro Boy, Paddington Bear, right? These ones, they're nostalgic IP. And to bring them back into the limelight, right? Not only to re-expose them to generations like yourself, right, that remember them watching them as kids, but also your children as well. Like, how do they get exposed to these kind of characters?
Yeah, like the Hello Kitty would be a hit right now in my house. Like if it's doing this, like, and they probably wouldn't even know that they're using Web3 and
correct, yeah.
crypto and that's not going to happen necessarily with IP that exists natively in Web3, I don't think. Pudgy's different because they've already kind of made the leap. So, but yeah, like most everything else has not.
Yeah, dare I say, like the Web3 IP is still early. Like it's a meme to say we're early, but we are. I mean, we truthfully are, and I think some of that IP that is native to Web3 is now clearly Pudgy's that example that's broken out. And I hope we see more. I expect we'll see more this cycle. But the IP thing is interesting. Just that it's look, we saw a lot of IP last cycle with NFTs like booming in 21, 22. A lot of brands, a lot of NFTs. I mean, I'm trying to think of some of the big ones we saw, like Budweiser and Pepsi, and like the NFL was here, and all kinds of characters too. And I don't know if the space was ready for it then. You know, again, I think even then we were too early for IP, but is AI giving that new life or letting that live up to its real potential now? Because really the characters will feel alive and they'll feel personal.
Yeah, if it's like this, it will. The other stuff was just collectibles. To Max's point,
Right.
It wasn't like a dog. So if Budweiser would have put something out that made that connection, you know, and had utility and filled some need, then I think absolutely. But it didn't. It was just largely a cash grab.
Right. And Max, from your standpoint too, has there been maybe like an awakening out there because of AI, where now all of a sudden we see this like awesome synergy with agents and then those recognizable IP?
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess I'm a bit biased here because this is something I work on a daily basis. But to like Randy's point, I think that is exactly why the kind of a lot of the NFTs that use iconic IP failed, right? Even actually Hello Kitty tried to do an NFT project like that, and it didn't work out too well. It's mostly because I think, again, to Randy's point, they launched it with this new technology without actual utility, right? And so it was mostly like, okay, let's just do collectibles. And so majority of those brands didn't even know what drives value to a collectible, right? And so if there is no value in that collectible, what else can you do with it? And they didn't really have an answer to that. And I saw that with a bunch of different brands. So now when we have this ability to actually combine utility with ownership, right? You have this powerful combination where not only do you get that sense that this is uniquely yours, but also you have that extreme utility of now, I guess it's the first use case is companionship, but then eventually into more AI agentic type functionality.
What does that look like to you? Like the type of utility you get through an agent? And then I'm curious how it being that recognizable character or brand, how that actually buffs the experience, how it makes it better. Because I can see already how it will, but I would love to hear from you.
Yes, actually, again, Randy touched upon that a little bit with his Bugs Bunny companion. We have this natural gravity towards characters that we're familiar with. And so if I were to say, let's just launch an AI agent without a face, right? It's very difficult to like actually resonate with that character or resonate with that agent because you inherently don't really trust anything without a face. It'd just be like if I didn't have my camera on right now, it's a little bit mysterious, right? And even if you did add a face to it, let's say our own IP or something like a humanoid character. I'm not sure the ones you've seen, but all of the humanoid avatars that I've seen don't cross that it's kind of like a Black Mirror episode where it's a bit uncanny valley, right? We can all detect when something is CGI in a sense, like the face is not real, and that builds distrust, and especially with our long-term vision with AI agents and AI companions, I want this thing to be integrated into all your devices, everything you do. And that terrifies people. And it technically should, right? You shouldn't give so much access to an AI. You shouldn't give all of that. But the benefits will eventually outweigh those kind of fears. And so how do I overcome those fears? How do I make people inherently trust more our AI companions so that they're more open to like entertaining the idea of, hey, these are actually things that we should be able to kind of integrate more friendly interfaces, right? And so the sweet spot here is with nostalgic IP. That's how we're starting. We will eventually get towards custom avatars, right? But the idea here is that with these characters like Bugs Bunny, you can just resonate with them. You have this inherent ability to be friendly and you know the character itself. And that's the first step towards being able to integrate that AI into your daily life.
Max, I don't know if you know off the top of your head. It was either on the deck or the white paper. There was a video showing like the agents going from screen to screen. Do you recall where that is? Like even jumping from like a tweet and pushing an image. Like, do you remember where that is? Because I have to show it if we can.
Okay, so there's a couple of videos we've done. Most of them are not released yet. So there's a huge Pudgy Penguin announcement trailer that we're dropping very soon. I can't announce when that is. Actually, I'm not going to even drop it. Pudgy Penguins is dropping it. But in that case, I don't want to reveal too much on that one. But that one shows exactly what you're talking about, but I think way better.
I think you guys have a YouTube account. I think that's where I might have seen the Twitter one. Does that sound familiar?
There's a couple of ones that we've done. There is the one on the deck where I'm talking to my Pudgy, and it's on my laptop, and then it jumps to my phone. So the idea here is that, again, because of that Microsoft Cliply overlay type service, you have the ability to have your AI agent essentially jump from one device to the other, right? You can probably see it in like 5 seconds.
Oh, this blows my mind. We're literally, I mean, and I say this a lot, we're sprinting into the future. We're getting there so fast. It is exponentially growing that you can have a companion that is probably living on X in some form. It's living on your device. It probably lives on your smartwatch. It probably at some point is making the leap into the virtual reality space. It's pretty incredible. How I guess, what is it? What can it do for you across these devices? Is it just the being able to speak to it, ask it questions? Again, the companionship.
Yeah. So first and foremost, the angle and strategy we have is people should want this simply for the companion experience, right? The fact that you have a Pudgy Penguin or whatever character you decide to be on your screen, it's something you can daily talk to. It ends up helping you in the sense that like you are just having a conversation with it, right? Then slowly, right, it is also fulfilling most of your functional needs, right? So the way we do that, instead of trying to create those functional needs ourselves, we open up an entire ecosystem of AI agents. So it means that, for example, to give you like a rudimentary example, today, if I go to my Pudgy Penguin and I say, hey, draw me an image of my favorite artist, right? And the background should be my favorite color. That's the exact prompt, right? My Pudgy Penguin will take that and then determine through an algorithm which AI agent to use. In this case, let's say we'll use the popular examples. Let's say Midjourney, DALL-E, and Stable Diffusion, right? Through some decentralized networking on determining which AI to use. Let's say it chooses Midjourney. So it goes to Midjourney in the API and says, this is the prompt. Also, here's the relevant personal data. Max loves the color red, and his favorite artist is Picasso, right? So that's the only personal data it shares to Midjourney. And then Midjourney obviously gives back the image, and then through my companion, I've now gotten that image itself. Now, you multiply that through the hundreds of other functional prompts that I could give it throughout the day, and now you have this supercharged companion, but I'm not dealing with ChatGPT and then going to DALL-E and then buying a subscription to Midjourney and then doing these other AI agent interfaces. Instead, it's all through one, which is my Pudgy Penguin.
Man, I love it. So I already understand the companionship, and now I'm extra curious when it is more of a recognizable brand. I talk to ChatGPT every day. I literally do. Like, I have my phone that sits next to me, and I don't type to it, and I don't just send it like a one-off question or command or whatever. I put it on that voice mode where you can just have a conversation.
The voice recognition is really good.
It's so
I was
impressive.
blown away.
It's so impressive. Okay, and my kids, I probably embarrass them like so much because I'll do this even in public too. But an amazing thing happened this past week, and my daughter started doing it. And she's now having a conversation with ChatGPT, and so was her friend who was hanging out with us too, and it blew their minds. And now I'm just extra excited for when it's, again, their favorite characters or at least something they recognize. And I think that the fact that it took my daughter a few months, maybe a couple months for her to open up and be willing to try it, as opposed to if it was a character she already knew, I think breaks down that barrier right away. It's just an interesting observation that it feels like it's a shortcut to getting people to use AI. The adoption will be pretty incredible. Who is the audience, by the way, for this? I assume it's the Web3 people who are here already because we love the AI stuff. But do you picture people outside of Web3 are interested in AI to this degree?
Actually, the majority of our users are Web2. Web3 will only come in when we launch with Axie Infinity, and then eventually when we launch with Pudgy Penguins in a couple of months. That'll also bring in a huge bunch of Web3 people. The way I actually look at it is it to balance our token and to ensure that our economy is sustainable. It needs to balance Web3 people and Web2 people, because the like Web3 users tend to have different economic benefits and disbenefits than Web 2 people. And so to ensure that balance of the two, I actually I move the needle based on the IP that I launch. Right. So if I see that there's too many Web3 people coming on board and they, in a sense, extracting value from a financial perspective from the ecosystem, I launch more Web2 IP, let's say Paddington Bear, and that blows up that Web2 side. Web2 people are great to monetize from, right? They're just straight up spenders. They don't expect financial return in back. And so that helps the ecosystem there.
So Max, like I've got a question because you mentioned the token. If I'm guessing now. So if I'm like an outsider seeing this for the first time, I'm going to see some of that IP. I'm going to, I think like the utility is going to be an easy sell. They're going to connect with it right away. Sure, yeah, I'd love to try that out. I'd install it right now. I don't think there's going to be a tough lift there. But the question is, like, from a crypto perspective, like, how does the token play in? Like, what? Yeah, like, see. This, would take some time to dissect and make sense of. But it's like, okay, yeah, I believe in this now. How do I get the token? Where is it? Where are they at? Like, what are the dumbed down for me, like easy answers to those questions?
Yeah, so I think the token model is very similar to something like Virtualist Protocol or Pump.Fun. We've taken essentially the elements that work that we've seen demonstrated by those different businesses and applied that to Kindred, but in a way that allows for, I guess, a more sustainable approach to why users are actually using it. With the token itself, essentially, to kind of give you the rundown, each time an IP character collection is launched, right, it needs to purchase, let's call it a parking slot, right? For now. They're called a different name, but a parking slot, right? So that parking slot has the ability to write and create a character, right? This is also on our side. So for example, when we launch Hello Kitty, we also have to purchase one of these parking slots, right, to represent Hello Kitty. That Hello Kitty now can then be, essentially creates its own token, right? Its own liquidity pool, which pairs to our token. So anytime that you essentially have people using that Hello Kitty character, it's feeding that token back into the ecosystem. All the revenue that's earned through that Hello Kitty is distributed to us, the ecosystem, and the actual IP holder itself, right? So to give you an actual real example, Pudgy Penguins. If you own a Pudgy Penguin, as of when we launched in, let's say, 2 months' time, to the entire collection, if you own that Pudgy Penguin, if you opt in with Kindred, you can enable essentially anybody in the world to adopt your Pudgy Penguin as their AI agent on their screen, right? If they spend money, right, so subscriptions costs or accessories, things like that, a portion of those fees will go directly to the IP holder, right? And so now you're essentially getting that financial utility from a Pudgy Penguin perspective, simply because you're allowing other people to experience the product, similar to Pudgy Penguins plushies, right, where they got licensed, and then any of the revenue, a portion of it goes to the actual holder itself.
This is a dumb question. Like, I honestly don't know the answer to this. Is Kindred out yet? Is KIN? Like, okay. So where are you at in that process with your native token?
We are heading towards our TG very soon. I don't have the liberty to say which exchanges we have lined up and are confirmed with in terms of launchpads, dexes, and sexes. But the TG is coming up very soon, within the next 6 months.
So yeah, it does sound like it reminds me of Virtuals a bit, because you've clearly been building for a long time, which I think they had too. Like, they clearly had when they caught fire. October, November, whenever that started, like, that wasn't overnight, like that they had been building. So I'm hearing the same thing from you, and that's pretty evident here with what we've seen that you've been building for a long time. Definitely get the pairing with the liquidity pool piece. So you're saying, is every agent going to have its own token then? Is that like that?
I guess it shouldn't say, I guess, AI agent. It'd be a character collection, right? So, for example, Winnie the Pooh would be one, right, token. model. To me, it's like the beauty of that system. It just allows for a deeper integration or ownership for people that are really die hard about the IP, right? It gives us validation when it comes to which IP to launch, right? So let's say we have a Winnie the Pooh, we can see massive traction when it comes to the token, and then we can put more resources into developing that further, right? But also for, let's say for you, you love Bugs Bunny, instead of just keeping the companion on your screen, and that is contributing to the ecosystem, now you can actually directly also help out Bugs Bunny as an IP, like contributing not only functionally, right, with added benefits if you are a developer, but through the token as well.
How does the NFT fit into the ecosystem here?
So all the Kindred are NFTs. From a functional benefit perspective, they essentially allow us to save a lot of the, I guess, personality data and the metrics that are tracked within the user and companion experience to allow for that cross-device type scenario, right? Privacy is quite a big element of this entire flow. As you probably heard before, we want this AI to be integrated into so many different facets of your life. And so to use that decentralized approach, whilst also pairing that to the actual companion itself through the NFT, to me, it's the only way, right? Privacy is only as strong as its weakest link, right? And so with NFTs, it allows that smart contract to be binded to all of that data. And then from a philosophical perspective, and one of the main reasons I started using NFTs within this experience way back 2 years ago when we started experimenting, was simply the fact to represent authenticity and uniqueness, right? So your dog, right? If you have a dog or cat, it is one of one. There's nothing like it. You can't, in a sense, clone it. And even if you did manage to clone it, like you'd still know your one, the base one, is the real one. And so if we are genuinely going for a vision of digital life, something that is truly living and breathing, represented through characters combining with AI and blockchain, it needs to be one of one. It needs to represent itself as something that is truly scarce, right? That if it's gone and deleted, it is gone forever, right? And that sense of perishable nature to life, I think, gives it beauty.
So if Randy and I were to swap our NFTs, we're swapping like the personality of the agent, the agent itself. Like what exactly? Yeah. Speak on that if you could. Oh, and
rights
by the way,
to the royalties, right? Or rights to the IP stream. Is that right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think the example would be with pudgy penguins, right? So if you have a pudgy penguin, you are earning royalties from it. But let's say you don't want passive income in that sense. You just want to sell it, right? You can sell that that parking slot, right? But within that parking slot, there are, let's say, 10,000 people using those individual AI agents. Those individual AI agents, generally speaking, are not going to be traded, right? Similar to why you wouldn't trade your dog, right? We are trying to build lifelong bonds here. They are obviously allowed to be traded, but the most important part is that I suspect the trading will happen more on the parking slot level, where you own the character or the avatar that's earning revenue through people that use it, than the actual individual AI agents.
How are they different? Like, clearly is it 10,000 pudgies? I assume it is.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of pudgies. They're different. They've got unique traits. Clearly they have different pictures, like, or images associated with them. So like in this scenario, is the AI different, I guess, between my pudgy and Hudah's pudgy and your pudgy, or is it, more tied to the actual parent IP, like how this is all trained?
Yeah, so similar to how each pudgy aesthetically is different with different accessories, you have the liberty as a holder and a holder of the parking slot, in the sense, to also adjust the voice, the personality, all of the functionality, so that way you can provide a better offering to people that would want to use your pudgy as an AI agent, right? So if I go to Randy's one and I don't like its personality, it's very rough, or like it's like goes off the.
It would be cool. It would be cool.
Then they can always just like not choose that one. I can go to Hudah's pudgy.
Yeah, Hudah's would be cooler though. We know this, but it's okay. So it's not tied specifically like to rarity or anything on chain. It's like each of these are uniquely kind of is it like an even playing field of like 10,000 different pudgies, not tied to like the on chain traits we're accustomed to. That makes
Yeah.
sense. Like if there's one with laser eyes or whatever,
Mhm.
is that going to have any superpowers in the system beyond that which has a common trait?
It would be a level of customization that is more preferential to a particular user group, right? So some people prefer companions that are more extroverted. So a pudgy penguin that I'm looking for that has a particular top hat and this type of scarf, there might be 20 of them in the collection. And so I'd look at that and then I see those 20, and this guy has tweaked his pudgy penguin exactly the type of voice I would want as my companion, exactly the type of like personality that I would want as my companion, and then I can adopt that.
Randy, do you have any other questions about the like kind of the traits, the agent personalities? Because if not, I'm getting my question in next.
I think I'm good. Yeah. I'm good. What do you got?
Okay, so uh, Max has graciously given us a couple whitelists to give away for this upcoming mint, so thank you for that. And I'm going to do one here just while we're live. I'm going to do it as a tweet, the typical like retweet thing, and I'm going to fire that off in a minute. But the mint is happening on Abstract, and I was thinking about this before the show. Why did you guys choose Abstract? I'm here's part of it too. I'm wondering, like you said, you have this audience that it's really tailored to people outside of Web3, and I hear Luca, and it's the consumer chain. I wonder if to some degree you feel responsible to help people get into crypto safely if they're touching crypto, maybe for the first time here. Some of these people.
And when you say mints on Abstract, it's like this is like the main token, right? Is that what I'm hearing, or like
Yeah, so
the KIN that's on Abstract as well?
This mint here is quite exclusive because there's only 1,000. Essentially, what
Okay.
that 1,000 means is each 1,000 is uniquely different, not only aesthetically, right, with the accessories, which you can't buy. You have to have that particular character. And so, for example, if I have a Clara of those 1,000 that has a particular 3 set of accessories, I can begin to tweak that to a point in which now I essentially have my own parking slot where I can get 1,000 people or 10,000 people to use my particular Clara as their companion. And I'm getting revenue from each one of those people that are using it, right? And so this is like immediate utility, because we're not talking about like a Twitter bot in this sense. We're talking about something that's actually being used by the Web2 space, more importantly, as a companion itself. But in terms of Abstract, I think after speaking with Luca for a while and looking at, I also had a couple of conversations with Pedro, right, which is one of the founders of Abstract. I felt like their vision for the blockchain was probably what I put my bets on or chips on when it comes to, at least initially, mass adoption from a Web 2 standpoint, right? And so they very much focus on that UX UI. They focus on easy onboarding, and ensuring that things are very intuitive. There's no like really messy bridging, right? Or messy like cross-chain transaction hashes that you have to go through on Block Explorer and things like that the majority of people are just not going to do. And so that's something I've always focused on in the blockchain space with our platform. And so that alignment of values, I think that's where we kind of work together well.
It makes so much sense. Okay, I've got a tweet out there, and this is how you guys will enter the giveaway. I'm going to drop the link here in YouTube. We'll drop it over on the Abstract side as well, guys. Good luck. Gosh, I forgot we're on X as well, so I'm going to need to drop it over there. Man. Okay. I need to ask you another question. Like this speaks to me again in so many ways. Like I'm obsessed with this AI ecosystem. It's the brands that I love. What brands, you mentioned some, but what brands do you have deals with, partnerships? What can we expect? Who's coming up? Any that you're chasing that you're maybe particularly excited for?
Yes. So we have about 25 partnerships in currently locked in. They have been built over the last 2.5 years. After Sanrio or Hello Kitty, it was obviously a lot easier for us to get these IP. We are trusted as a partner. I can't announce too many of them. There are some that are hinted within the videos that we have. So things like Teletubbies, Astro Boy, B-Duck if you're from China. But if you look and remember any of those nostalgic IP from back in the day, most likely we have them, right? And so we have always I love to drop hints through subtle videos and photos. So all of those are our current partners. And so we're just waiting for the chance to really announce it properly. the idea is that we actually launch every 30 days a new IP collection, right? So for example, starting essentially August, we will launch with Pudgy Penguins, then Hello Kitty, and then we might go to Bugs Bunny or something like that, right? And so every 30 days is a new marketing hype or marketing launch. Yeah, and then
I think all you got to do is hit on one of these, and then I think if you're not, it's my take. If you hit on one of them, then if you're not flooded with IP opportunities already, because the brands they want to, we went through this during the NFT cycle. They're craving this. They certainly got burned. So you need those. I suspect you know better than I. You need those that are forward thinking enough and willing to take the risk to kind of be some of the first ones in. But once you get like one success story, then they're all going to want in.
Yes, exactly. And I think
we're believers here in the AI agent wave, and like this is different. This is lasting. I'm quite optimistic. One good success story is going to multiply quickly.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, even when I talk to my IP partners, they're also getting approached by AI agent type services, and they tell me it's like directly, like, we don't want to work with any of those. And I think the main reason they work with us and nobody else is because yes, our technology is cool and you have that visualization, but most importantly, like, the thing I value most is adhering to the values of the character, right? So like the actual brand itself, there's a ton of ways they can monetize the character, right? There's so many ways you can make money off a character like Bugs Bunny, right? But to do it in a way that still maintains the integrity of Bugs Bunny, that's the difficult part. Yeah. And so you have like these AI agents that are like, oh, I'll make a Bugs Bunny Twitter bot, right? Something like that can trade on your behalf. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would I want my Bugs Bunny purely as a Twitter bot or something that like I would use as a financial tool only, right? And so when we approach them, we're like, okay, we actually just want Bugs Bunny to be closer to your people, right? We want Bugs Bunny to be used by the next generation of children. Like, my children should be playing with Bugs Bunny. Like, I would love that as a character.
Do you think that'll prevent its ability to ever be fully autonomous? Like, because I didn't get that you ever, at least from what I read, that you didn't necessarily envision these things being, like if Bugs Bunny, let's say my agent, because he's connected to me, and let's say he knows that I trade, which I don't, but if I did, are they able to adapt that way to me, or like, so my question is, how autonomous can they be while still protecting the brand that your IP partners are going to care about?
Yeah, so I think in that circumstance, the example I'd give is if you were to trade with your Bugs Bunny, it needs to be in the character, the voice, the personality of, quite literally, if you were talking to the animated Bugs Bunny through the TV, like the Looney Tunes TV show, right? How would he actually trade, in the sense that adding personality to it? And there's actually a great example that Apple just came out with. If you watched their video about, it was a lamp, right? And you ask the lamp to turn on and show like a light on your desk. I'm not sure if you've heard of it.
I'm seeing if I can find it real quick.
I think it's called Elegant.
This is Apple, you said?
Yes.
Hudah doesn't watch TV. He's always streaming.
Well, I found it here. I think, I found it. But no, this is where I live 24/7.
Yeah, so it's called Elegant, ELEGNT. And yeah, it's a robot. So this is actually beautiful. So this is exactly the things I was researching with human-computer interaction, where, to give you a really quick rundown, instead of essentially having this, in this case, they've anthropomorphized the lamp, right? Similar to like the Pixar lamp. Instead of it being just something that if you tell it to directly go and knock over the blocks, it has a sense of style. So in this case, it's very robotic. Sharp movements, right? It does the task exactly as the most efficiently as possible, and then knocks over those blocks. But instead, it shows more expression. It shows a sense of personality, right? And so taking that kind of concept and applying it to something like Bugs Bunny will still execute the task being given by you. So for example, trading, right? It'll do so, which still resonates and still adheres to the character itself. Oh, Hudah, I think
you're right. Yep. Will different maybe brands or types of collections in Kindred, or even if there's like kind of new Web3 native IP and that launches on Kindred, will people be able to customize? I guess how deep they want their agents to go. Do you have control? Over I guess what those agents can do, or things that you definitely do not want them to be able to do.
Yeah, so we do have some strict guardrails when it comes to like particular IP, but especially like things like Hello Kitty, but also ones that are geared towards children, right? We have to be very strict in terms of the protocols we use. But within those boundaries, you're pretty much free to personalize it as you want. I don't want it to be sliders, right? The way that we're developing it is it'd be like that scene in Interstellar where Tars, I think it is, where he's making a joke, and then Bradley Cooper's like, no, let's bring that humor setting down to 50%, please. so that kind of dynamic behavior is something I would prefer.
It's a good example, by the way. One of the best movies ever. I love it. I love it. When will people see more? Like a little more, maybe hands-on with the agents or the ecosystem? Maybe what's the next step here? NFT. It sounds like maybe the nearest milestone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Clara NFT is our biggest focus right now. We want to keep that as the benchmark, right, for our IP collections, at least for our internal IP. And it also shows the entire kind of ecosystem and market right now that there is a very strong use case here that actually people are using AI agents outside of the Web2 space, outside of the Web3 space. And it's not strictly just for something that's financially gained, which I haven't really seen so far. Like even virtuals protocols and types like that, people are still, the main use case is you get this, you customize it, make a lot of money. Right, which I mean, there's merit to that as well. But I think the important part is, hey, do we actually have people that are genuinely using this on a daily, day-to-day basis? And is that the majority? Because the minority will always have that aspect of it, right? It's with financial gain, you get that benefit. But the majority of the users shouldn't be like that. They should actually genuinely be using the product for as it is.
I love that, and man, I look forward to seeing these. By the way. And this shouldn't be a by the way. I really wish I let off with this, but you guys are part of the NVIDIA Inception program. Congratulations. That's it sounds like a really big deal. What does it mean?
Yeah, so that was it's somewhat of a big milestone. I think being part of their ecosystem now provides us with direct support, right, in terms of utilizing NVIDIA beyond just like the actual servers themselves in the cloud. It gives us a bit more support and, more importantly, customizability, right? So even we're actually part of Microsoft Azure's custom voice program as well, which is extremely exclusive. They don't really give access to that custom voice. What that essentially means is, going back to the example with Bugs Bunny, you're not going to be able to find a Bugs Bunny voice anywhere, right, as an AI. It's just too difficult to make, and most companies are not going to be putting those resources. We can do that now with Microsoft, and that was actually a big thing that we had to unlock because as you can probably tell, our characters need to speak somewhat in the character that we expect them to be. So that was also a big milestone. But in terms of NVIDIA itself, yeah, it just means that they can provide that support. They can push a lot more when it comes to marketing. And hopefully, my goal is that coming soon, might not be this GTC, but the next or the years after that in terms of GTC, which is the NVIDIA kind of tech conference that they hold, with Jim Henson's like on stage and he's talking about the newest updates. One day he might be accompanied by his Kindred companion.
Oh, wild. Huh. Oh boy. It's like I said before, it's just this really exciting future we're running headfirst into, and there's so many cool milestones ahead. Speaking of, and maybe this is where maybe my last question or comment even, but the lifespan of these agents. So I see the roadmap. It's awesome. It has me excited because, again, I love every part of it. I'm a crypto guy. I love that stuff. I'm into the AI agents. But at the very end here, I see like some virtual reality glasses or augmented reality. Is that part of the plan? And if so, like to what degree? How do you see that playing out in the future of AI agents in general, and then the Kindred ones specifically? And then what do we expect beyond? Because you got beyond there as well.
Yeah, so I mean, the form factor of AI ultimately is what is most natural and most convenient to us, right? So right now, we spend the majority of our days on laptop and mobile, but also in real life, right? And so AR and VR is naturally the next evolution of what we're trying to build. Unfortunately, so far, the AI space and the VR space is hasn't really reached mass adoption. The technology is not there yet, right? But we're seeing hints of that now with things like Meta Orion, right? So with Meta Orion and those kind of smart glasses, which have augmented displays, that to me has the potential to be more mass adopt friendly, right? And so we actually are talking with the Meta Orion team directly, Reality Labs, to begin developing essentially your Hello Kitty or your Bugs Bunny companion in real life. On, let's say, if I'm talking on my desk, it'll be there sitting on my laptop, right? And so that to me is the most natural form factor of what I would imagine AI to be. The only thing really coming closer to that would be hardware, so robots. That's something I haven't entertained yet. It's very, for me, a long way away. I want to really focus on creating that companion that essentially is completely reliant throughout the digital sphere.
Entertain it for a second, though. Is that where you see it going in like the long run? Like, I mean, to me, it makes sense, but robotics that are powered by AI, I think makes sense. But are, excuse me, we're heading there, though, I think.
I think like
point, right?
doesn't the Eliza platform, aren't there already plugins like that are starting to do that? I'm not intimately familiar, but I thought I saw that.
Well, they announced a robot. I think it's
Yeah.
something like,
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh
four
yeah, yeah,
hundred thousand
Farther
dollars,
along
or.
than
But
yeah.
there's some tie-in down the road. It sounds like, right?
Potentially. I mean, the idea is that your companion is ubiquitous, right? So it's if it ends up being within a hardware device, that'd be fantastic as well. I think for me, the angle was really the fact that we are spending more and more time on our digital screens than we are in real life. On average, we spend, I think it was like the statistic is like 7 hours connected to the internet in some way, right? So that number is actually just increasing. So if you actually look at it from that perspective, if you're looking at where our eyeballs are most of the time, it's actually on a digital screen, which is kind of scary, but that trend unfortunately is upward. And so we want to focus on that market rather than that physical. That's not to say that we aren't going to potentially entertain physical as well.
Sure. Does AR VR give the agent more functionality, more than just that it's in more places with you? Like, have you thought of any ways that the AI can do more because of that?
Yes, that's actually a fantastic question. So with the Meta Orion, I use that example, but there are the smart glasses out there as well. It simply just means multimodal, which means the more senses you give your AI, the more effective it's going to be, the more lively it's going to be, the more essentially the more real it's going to be, right? So imagine you're talking to your pet, but then it's lacking 3 of the 5 senses, right? It's going to still be there, but it's difficult to resonate with them because you might not be able to speak, right? It might not be able to articulate itself through facial expressions. And so with AR, essentially now is able to see everything you see, right? Which is fantastic. It means that you can actually be with that companion in real life and experience things as the companion does as well.
Incredible. Again, I'm like a VR junkie, and I want to get the Vision Pro. I know it's dead, but I still need it because that's just how much I love that. Do you have your hands on a unit yet? One of the Orions, by the way?
No, the Orion is it's very much in its prototype stage. The videos you saw of like Zuckerberg with some of the celebrities talking with the Orion, it's like really scrappy put together.
Okay.
They have a thing called Project Aria, which I think it's called Aria. That gives a research model on a research prototype of smart glasses. But yeah, it's still very early days for Meta Orion.
Got it. Well, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to man, Kindred AI and everything coming there. Randy, do you have any final questions here, or even Max, any other final points maybe we didn't cover that you want people to hear about?
I think. Oh yeah, no, go Randy.
Well, I was going to say I don't. It'd be fun to nerd out on on some of the tech, like on the LLM side, but we wouldn't have time for that, and probably would put a lot of the viewers to sleep if I
Well, maybe Max. At some point, maybe anybody from the technical team would want to come on and get in the weeds with with Randy here, especially like the tech stuff. I think there's an audience that's pretty interested.
Well,
in
that's
that.
part of it too. Like you know, we've clearly got a lot going on, and I want to you know, on the Swarm report, this is a big focus of ours internally with what we're pushing with SlamAI, and Hudah's saying like this is the one you're going to want to hear. Like, because it's educational for me and us as a team as well to see. We need to know where builders are heading, you know, because our platform can and will support a lot of this from a data perspective, but we can't fully. As we're building that out, knowing what others are doing, like clearly, like what you're doing is part of the future. So that's going to allow us to, you know, steer what we need to steer in the right direction too. So we can support as much as possible on the data side.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I learned a lot.
That if I get a call with you and my CTO, we probably have to make that live stream like 3 hours long, because he tends to like really deep dive into a lot of different aspects of Kindred from a back end perspective. Like,
and I bet like the call like today would be different than 3 months ago because of how fast everything is iterating. Like who had even heard of? I hadn't heard of DeepSeek until everybody heard of it. So now it's like, how are you? You know, you can do a lot of the things maybe you wish you could have done before, but were too expensive. Now you can do it. You know, how are you adapting to that? I know how we're thinking about this, but I'm curious how others are thinking about it. You know, is this really a game changer, or is it all just hype and overblown?
Just so you know, there's people in the chat saying they're down for that. They want a deeper conversation on the tech, some nerdy stuff.
If we planted
want
them,
it,
we probably planted them.
No, I promise. No. It would be pretty darn interesting. To be continued, maybe.
Yeah, for sure. I think like for me, my answers are very service level, right? I come from a business side, an academic side. The actual technical side is way more complex, and I know I gloss over it, but I think that's where the real magic happens as well. To make it all work in the back end is something that my CTO is just like really on the ball with, and to have a conversation, I think would brighten him up.
I love that. All right, we'll have to chat after. Max, man, thank you so much for joining and sharing what you guys are working on. I'm really excited for this. It's one of the biggest things upcoming on Abstract. I think for me, it's the biggest thing on Abstract coming up here in the near future, especially with AI over there, which I do think is about to see, some really good.
That's my takeaway from this too. Like as Max, I don't know how familiar you are, but we have an incredible EVM indexer that it's going to truly shine through SlamAI, and Abstract. We're not quite there yet, just because of just bandwidth to carry everything out. So we have at this point we have to pick and choose chains. Abstract's been at the top of the radar like for forever, but we haven't quite got that over the hump. Like this gives me the impetus to maybe let's hit the. I know Hudah would like this.
I was going to say, bet this has you juiced. Yeah,
like hit the button sooner rather than later, so that we're ready. When these agents that are on Abstract need data, there's going to be one place to go, because our again, like the EVM part of it is is going to be second to none. So we need to do Abstract as well as we can do Base and Ethereum and Sonium and everything else. That's my takeaway. That's what I learned today, among other things.
Abstract. Gonna cook. Max, do you have an X account that people can follow? I know some people on the teams and they don't care about that, but I'd love to share it.
Yeah, it's we follow Kindred first, but I guess I should probably start building up my own X account as well. Let me get it for you.
Actually, you know what? I think I just followed you on the Spaces yesterday. I think I got it. Yeah, here we go. I got you. And by the way, Max is starting to make the rounds, and he's been on some Spaces. And I think one of them that you were on yesterday is going to be reoccurring, and I'll be tuning in to make sure I'm keeping up on what you guys are doing. I'm going to drop Max's handle here in the chat for you guys. But like you said, it's Kindred_AI. Pay attention to that. Give them a follow. Check out the tweet on the Swarm_AI. Again, we've got the whitelist giveaway here. Is it this one right here? Where did I tweet that? Yeah. I'd have to go find that. I'll find it and I'll drop it in the chat or I'll retweet it. You guys will find it. But basically, retweet, like, drop a comment. We'll pick a winner here in 24 hours. So good luck to you guys. Any parting words, Max? I don't remember if I asked that before.
But no, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you, Hudah and Randy, and thank you for the questions. It's something that I definitely can speak for many, many hours on. But I think in summary, really, we want to create that unified interface for all of your AI agents. And I think the best way to bring kind of light into this world is through bringing to life characters that we all know and love.
Let's do it again when you're a little closer.
Yeah, let's do a check-in when we hit these milestones and the NFT mint's happening. And yeah, throughout, I'd love to keep in touch here with this stuff. Again, I'm really passionate about it too, so it'll be fun.
Awesome. It was a pleasure.
Likewise. All right, guys, enjoy the rest of your day here. I will see you tomorrow morning on Chain Reactor. Again, follow Kindred_AI. Follow the Swarm_AI. And then lastly, give us a follow at SlamAI_XYZ. Guys, have a great one. We'll see ya. Peace.